What's the good word, Joe? It's your boy DKB here. So, there's a reported rumor floating around that this could be essentially a make or break audition game for Zach Wilson. It'll only be his second start of the season since Aaron Rodgers went down, but the New York Jets may be looking to pull the plug earlier than Robert Saleh intended. Obviously, the plan was never to have Zach Wilson see the field to begin with. He was supposed to have a year of tutelage under Aaron Rodgers, but we had to pivot quickly. And Robert Saleh stuck to his guns that he thinks Zach Wilson will, earn the keys to the car for the New York Jets and still become that franchise quarterback. Everything anybody else has seen, other than what Robert Saleh's words say, though, indicate that Zach Wilson will never see the NFL again, if and when he's cut by the New York Jets. So there's some options floating around. We've had a bunch of names. We've heard the Tom Brady rumors. I've seen Taylor Heineke, Colt McCoy, Matt Ryan, guys that we should try to pull out of retirement like Andrew Luck. There's a guy, though, that's a free agent out there, and I heard Boomer Esiason throw his name out prior to me having, or I guess I should say post me thinking about this player as well, and I went back and forth over him for a while, just because of how, enigmatic his career has been. You're talking two completely different sides of the spectrum with how he's performed over the course of his career. But Carson Wentz could be that guy for us. Now, it's a weird situation because from Robert Saleh's standpoint and kind of what I've heard him mention in press conferences, he wants a backup that can still, be that in-house mentor for Zach Wilson. And if he does need to take the reins in the event of a serious injury to Zach Wilson, he won't be another detriment to this offense. But he also doesn't necessarily want to be put in a situation where he has question marks about who's going to start over Zach Wilson every single week, like he did last year with Mike White. So interesting situation, kind of politics in play. It kind of reminds me of like the Game of Thrones moment where, what was his name? Rob Stark, I think. He realizes that politics do play a huge piece in being a leader out there and all of those things outside of just trying to do good for the sake of doing good. And that's kind of the boat that I see Robert Saleh in. But nonetheless, back into Carson Wentz, I think it would be a good piece. Somebody that can push Zach Wilson in practice. And he has the former pedigree of being a top-notch guy out there. Again, I mentioned two different sides of the spectrum. You have to remember 2017, we're talking about him as being probably the best quarterback in the league. He was definitely in the MVP conversation. It seems like he had it in the bag prior to having that season-ending injury. And, we would have loved to see what he looked like in the playoffs, but nobody can take away that 2017 season for him was a stroke of brilliance. Everything after that, though, has been downhill for Carson Wentz. So, if we take it from the top, currently he's a free agent. He's a free agent for a reason and a free agent that's been out here for a while, especially with him recently putting out that, he's waiting to be able to throw some darts around on NFL Sundays, which is interesting because we haven't actually seen him take trips at all so far. And I do know that the Chiefs reached out to him about being their backup earlier, which I do think speaks highly of what an offensive mastermind in Andy Reid thinks about a guy like Carson Wentz. If there's any other offensive coordinators out there that can, hold their weight as being a skilled play caller, I think they realistically should look at him. He's still an amazing weapon out there, strong arm. One of the things I love most was a stat that was out there that, when he, and this is from 2021, mind you, by the way, he targets corners, at one of the highest percentages in the league, and you guys will see the stat here. Generally does the best being able to complete targets against them. Obviously has racked up passing yards. The touchdowns look great. And just in general, he has a knack for being able to find out how to beat a cornerback, which, you may be able to utilize that skill set because it's something that, we heard Gunny mention on the Jets Flight Squad podcast. This entire playbook has been built around Aaron Rodgers, and we know that he loves to attack the flats. He loves to attack the boundaries. You don't see many shots to the middle part of the field just because there's a lot that can go wrong. Tip passes, players that you don't see, people that can jump a route. There's just a variety of different setups, and so playing the boundaries, playing the flats, it gives you a better ability to not only take advantage of your mental ability if you're advanced in the game, but it also is going to limit the opportunities for turnovers unless the defensive back just makes a spectacular play, which is why we've seen Aaron Rodgers have one of the best touchdown to interception ratios in his career for sure. And it takes a strong level of skill to be able to attack the boundaries realistically, and you don't see a lot of players able to accomplish things like that. So a free agent for a reason, but there's definitely still a lot to love about the game. We did have the recent turmoil with him, and the last couple years, he loses his job in the Commanders. I think in only 7 or 8 starts to Taylor Heineke, which definitely isn't a great look. Then you go back to the Colts, and after only a year, the Colts and Frank Reich, they end up having to trade him to the Commanders, which is a guy that Frank Reich, I understand, lobbied heavy for. And there was a lot of players that actually didn't want to see Carson Wentz go anywhere either. They didn't think that he was the problem whatsoever. So that's a situation that we won't dive a whole ton into, but I think it's worth definitely highlighting and mentioning that it seemed like an ownership versus coaching staff battle. And the owner's going to win that every single time. But, still, recency bias is out there. You lose your job to Taylor Heineke, who's now, just another backup. It's not like he earned a start elsewhere. And then you're sitting on a guy that hasn't played since January 1st of 2022. So you do get worried about the rust and all that kind of different things. And, those are some of the same conversations we were having about Aaron Rodgers based on that small 4-snap sample size that we got to see week 1 versus the Bills. But from MVP to a man that's losing his job to a backup, it's definitely a far cry, right? There's a lot that you don't love about that, but I'm kind of always in that boat, half glass full when I can, but I'm still in that boat that you don't see many players that have extreme highs and extreme lows like that, right? The middle ground for him, it's definitely a safe place to at least bet on in what we're getting in a quarterback. And what is that going to bring? Again, a guy that you can kind of continue to utilize your playbook with. It's a guy that if he does beat out a Zach Wilson or Zach Wilson get injured and he starts, still is going to be his best offensive personnel grouping since his MVP season. You're giving him a true number 1 wide receiver. You're getting plenty of weapons that have interesting, unique abilities. Mecole Hardman's speed, Xavier Gibson and Randall Cobb's slot ability, as well as, help in the return game. Allen Lazard, which is a big body chain moving threat. You have Tyler Conklin, who's a strong receiving option. Jeremy Ruckert, who's a younger player with the explosive traits that we just haven't been able to see take advantage of because of the whole CJ Uzomah debacle. And then you have that defense to pair him with. And, it looks like we're taking a step back right now, but realistically with the offense and the way they were operating, that's 100% expected. Considering we're still average as a defense right now on paper, I would say that's still a huge nod to the defense. But let me know what you guys think. Carson Wentz, I won't get into all the specific numbers, but I do think he would be a strong option as somebody we should seriously consider. This would bring the quarterback drama in-house, no doubt. But you got to take a risk. At some point, I don't want to say Robert Saleh plays things safe, but I do think there's a certain level of him also just trying to avoid the media and the politics and the games that'll come and, the stories and the narratives that he'll have to address regardless of if he wants to or not, that'll come with bringing a guy like this into the building. But it's worth the shot. I mean, realistically, I said it before, I don't love a lot of the other options. The Colt McCoys, the Matt Ryans. I've heard Blaine Gabbert throw out there, stuff's getting crazy these days. If we're not going to seriously consider trading for a guy like a Jacoby Brissett, a Gardner Minshew, some other top backup in the league. I've seen Chad Henney's name popping up again. if we're not going to seriously consider trading for somebody with some recent successful history, a Tyler Huntley even, I would love to kind of see that. I don't think it's worth it. Save your draft capital. Go for Carson Wentz. He's the best high upside player I would argue you'll find, and we'll see what we can get done. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you again. Peace.